Hi, I'm Reverend Tom Kearns, and welcome to 333 Magic 9, where the tarot cards and stars come together to help you. 2021 is going to be quite a different year than last year, but there still are some critical days you need to know about because they can affect your love, your money, and your career. So let's take a closer look. Pisces, the card for the first quarter of the year, January, February, March, is the Three of Wands. And you can see him here looking off into the distance, and it suggests he's looking into the future. And look how bright it looks. And there's even illumination coming from above. So he can see that there are going to be new opportunities coming his way. There may be some challenges as well, but opportunity is really what the key word here. And especially when we think back to last year, we had a conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn. And Jupiter and Saturn deals with the energy that needs to be balanced. The Saturn is repressive and Jupiter is expressive, but Pluto is the planet of pandemics. So they were all together in Capricorn, the sign of government and politics. So look at all the stuff that happened there. That is now freeing up or moving away. So Jupiter is moving forward in Aquarius. Saturn is moving forward in Aquarius, and they are separating. So it suggests we're going to be able to have a better balance between our enthusiasm and the realistic things that we have to deal with. Now, since both of these planets are in the 12th house, and the 12th house deals with things behind the scenes, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind, it is a very spiritual house. So listen carefully to your dreams and intuitions, but also if you can identify your limitations, how you have limited yourself, you can break free from some of those, and that'll be really good for you. Now, as we move ahead into the 13th of January, we're going to have one of our first real challenges, and that's going to be Mars, the red line down here, and he's going to be squaring Saturn. So when Mars is here in the third house, and he's squaring Saturn up in the 12th house, it means you have to be careful with what you're saying and how you are moving. This is a house of motion, it's the house of communications, and this is the house of hidden things, as we have already said. So you have to be careful not to let delays frustrate you, and you have to be careful with how you are moving through the world and what you're saying and what you're planning. The very next day, January 14th, Uranus turns direct. And that is really the auspice of new opportunities, new things coming. So things straightening out a tiny little bit. And again, down in the third house, and this is the house of the logical mind, the everyday mind, and communications. So that you might find a little bit of upbeat in that area of your life. Take advantage of it while you can, because on the 17th, the week of the 17th, everybody's going to have a Mars-Uranus conjunction. So Mars is moving to where Uranus is. Now Mars is the god of war. Uranus is very willful and erratic. Can be genius though. So you might get some very, very good ideas. However, there is going to be a square from Jupiter. And again, Jupiter is in this, the 12th house, which is the house of limitations. Now, Jupiter is actually pretty good in that house, so that might be a little bit less harsh than otherwise. But listen carefully to your intuition and, again, try to overcome any obstacles that you've put in your own path. But down here, watch what you say and watch the way you are moving. Don't gamble, don't be pushy. There's a great need of freedom when Mars and Uranus are together, and Jupiter as well. They all like freedom. So be careful because you might get a little bit more freedom than you bargained for. Then on January 30th, Mercury, this is the dark blue line here, turns retrograde. Now that always suggests caution in travel and communications, but since he is in the 12th house, this gets a little bit deeper and a little bit more important. So again, listen carefully to the subconscious and the superconscious mind, but don't take everything for granted, because when Mercury is retrograde, and he will be retrograde from January 30th through February 21st, it's easy to get confused and to let your emotions get out of hand. So try not to allow that to happen. Keep your clarity if you can. When we move into February, Saturn will square, so Saturn, the orange line, will square Uranus. Again, this happens from the 12th house to the 3rd house, so it deals with the subconscious and superconscious mind conflicting with the planet Uranus, which is the planet of erratic but genius things. So you're going to have to be careful how you're moving, how you're communicating again. The past may be fighting against the future, so don't try to push too hard. Try to balance these energies. The month of March has one really nice, but it can be challenging thing happening, and that is Venus, the powder blue line here, is going to be moving into the sign of Aries on March 21st. Now this can bring a little excitement into the air, a little romance into the air, but since this is happening in your 2nd house, you're going to have to be a little careful with earning and spending money. Venus can bring you opportunities, but Aries, the sign here on the 2nd house, can enjoy spending money a little bit too much. Because a little bit too independent. So don't be too independent for your own good, and do watch your budget a little bit. As we move into the 2nd quarter, and that is April, May, and June, the card for that quarter is the 7 of coins or pentacles. You can see all the money just lined up there, right up there, but there's something not happening. There's no motion here. It's just sitting there. So this is a time of hesitation. So you've earned things, you have some money in the bank, you have some good talents and whatnot, but you have to hesitate here. You have to look and see, what do I want to do in the future? So don't go crazy just yet. This is a time of thinking, pondering. Okay, as we get into the astrology for April, May, and June, the first thing we have, and this is important, it goes with this hesitation, is you're going to have a Mars. Now Mars, again, is the red line, square to Neptune. That's on the 9th. So Neptune is down here in the 1st house of how you project yourself, and Mars is going to be here. So you're going to be a little bit careful not to be too pushy. And you know, when Neptune is in the 1st house, you can have a lot of charisma around and about you, and Mars wants to really express itself. So make sure, if you are expressing yourself, you're staying within the bounds of truth. Don't get carried away. Don't tell too many stories. Okay, then Mercury and Venus will conjunct Uranus. So you can see Mercury is the blue, dark blue, Venus is the powder blue, there is the planet Uranus. This is happening in the 3rd house again. So this can be a very good thing, because Venus and Mercury together are really nice. All right, they like talking, they like expressing. The 3rd house is the house of talking, expressing, communicating, analyzing. So when they are with Uranus, so you have to be a little bit careful. Again, your imagination, your creativity is enhanced. So if you're too imaginative, you might make up stories. So just be a little bit aware of that and watch where you're going. You don't want to trip. In May, Jupiter, this is a biggie. Jupiter enters Pisces for the first time in 12 years. Pisces is your sign. It's in your first house. So this can enhance your sensitivity, not that that needs it, your compassion, your spirituality, your healing ability. This will bring some more freedom to you, some more creative ideas. It can enhance just your soul power. So it's really, it can be a wonderful thing. The only thing you really have to be careful of is being too overexpansive, because Jupiter does like to expand. And since you have Neptune in your sign as well, and for a long time now, Neptune and Jupiter will get along in Pisces, and again make it, more sensitive, more emotional, more dramatic. So be a little careful, because this really is a good thing if it's handled with wisdom. Now, as we go into the last week of May, both Mercury, that's Mercury down here, and Saturn, the orange colored one, will be going retrograde. Now, this is in your 12th house, Saturn, and Mercury is in your 4th house, the foundations, your home, your family, your emotional foundations. So this is really a good time for review in that area. It's also a good time to review how you have limited yourself. What fears are holding you back? So you need to use logic, and you need to make sure that you're supporting and listening to other people, especially in your home and family. As we move into June, Mars, and again, Mars is the red guy, he's going to oppose Pluto. So that's 5th to the 11th house, and this means you're going to have to be a little bit careful in group situations. You would like to just do what you want to do and the heck with everybody else, because that's what Mars does. But the opposition to Pluto says you have to be aware of the needs of other people and maybe even larger social needs. So make sure you keep a balance between those two things, because you don't want to let your ego get out of hand, and you don't want to force issues, nor would you want anybody to force things onto you. On the 22nd of June, Mercury will go direct right here in the sign of Gemini, and that is the sign it rules. It is the sign of communications. Mercury going direct is good for communications. It helps you clear up any problems that might have been hanging around the home and the family, and it can also have an effect in your career, the opposite sign there. So that's a little good news. Make sure you take that to heart. On June 20th, Jupiter, and June 25th, Neptune, both go retrograde in Pisces. Okay, so there's Neptune, there's Jupiter, that is in the 1st house. So you're going to be careful how you express yourself. Again, Pisces is a very sensitive sign, and Jupiter is strengthened there, and Neptune is strengthened there. So keep yourself clear. You want to express yourself and project yourself without drama. So control your emotions, control your fantasies, and that will be very helpful to you. As we go into the 3rd quarter, and that is July, August, and September, the card for that quarter is the Lovers. Hey, that's a good thing, right? We like the Lovers. And so, as you can see, this is a card of cooperation. It's a card of romance. So they're bringing this energy together. So it's a good time to put together group situations where you're working together for a common goal, and it can be romantic as well. So the first thing that happens in July, the first big aspect we want to talk about, is a Mars Uranus Square. Again, Mars is the red line here, and Uranus is down in the 3rd house of the mind. So this is the house of work. This is the house of your environment, and how you're interacting with your environment. So you're going to have to be careful in those 2 areas of your life. So your personal environment and your work environment. And you need to make sure you're not being too pushy, too aggressive, too willful, and make sure you're following up on all the details. Don't let things get away from you. Then Jupiter and Saturn, so Jupiter and Saturn, and they are both here in the 12th house basically, are retrograde. And this is always a good time to review. Anytime these energies, Jupiter and Saturn especially, deal with business type of situations, foundational situations, that's Saturn, Jupiter is expanse. So you got to review the structures that you have been building in your life and see if they are really fitting for you. Now, since this is going to be happening up here in the 12th house, again, look at the limitations you might have put on yourself. How about what you're afraid of? Are you afraid to take the next step forward? This is a good time to ponder that and see how you can adjust and how you can move forward if there's something really good coming your way. Now, Venus and Mars, now this is the Lover's card, Venus and Mars are going to be traveling together. So Venus is the light powder blue, Mars is the red. They are both together in the sign of Leo, and they are in the 6th house of work and health. So this should be very, very good in that area. You might meet somebody through your work. How about that? Just, be careful not to mess around too much at work. You'll get into trouble. And that's something to keep in mind because they will square Uranus. And remember, Uranus can be too willful. So don't be too pushy. Take care of business. Watch your P's and Q's, and things should go fine. And you may even have a breakthrough, some type of new idea that comes along. And if you can make it practical, it'll be really helpful in the area of work. Now, in August, Venus and Mars are still traveling together. You can see they're going the same direction here. But now they're going to be in the sign of Virgo, and this is your 7th house of relationships and coming before the public. Now, when Venus and Mars are in Virgo, neither one of them really likes that essence of that sign because it is a practical, earthy thing, and romance is not that way. Romance can be really impractical. So as they are moving forward, you have to be a little bit careful not to be too critical of the other people that you're dealing with, both in an intimate way or in a business or public way, because Virgo does have a tendency to be a little bit critical. Don't do it. On the 19th, Uranus, right down here, will go retrograde in Taurus. So you have to remember to keep flexibility. And since Uranus is in Taurus, that has to deal with banking and finances, land and property. Keep one eye on the stock market if you have any investments on the stock market, because you may have to adjust or move things around a little bit. So don't be taken by surprise. Surprise can be very expensive. So keep one eye out. Then as we come into September, something a little bit unusual happens. Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus are all going to be retrograde. Boy, talk about a time to review. I mean, that's amazing. All those major big energies going retrograde. And on the 27th, the planet Mercury will also go retrograde. So this can, really muck things up, especially in communications. And since it's in the 8th house of intimacy and the shared energy you have with partners, and that can include money as well as intimacy, you must be careful in that area. So, again, dot the I's, cross the T's, watch what you're saying, and you should be able to bounce through that okay. Now we move into the 4th quarter, and that is October, November, December. And you can see the card for that quarter is the King of Swords. And he is sitting very firmly on his throne. He's almost immovable. He is illuminated. And he usually will represent someone who has very good judgment, someone who has gained wisdom from moving through the whole year and last year, all the things that we've had to deal with. So he is pretty firm here. The only problem with him is he may be a little bit too cool or cold, and you don't want to be thought of in that way. Now, October is really a good month to start moving ahead because Pluto, where are you? Right there, Pluto. Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury are all going to be moving forward. So this should help you with your plans, with your finances, and with your communications. Everything is moving in a better direction, especially on October 18th. And on that day, both Jupiter and Mercury, that is the day they both go direct at the same, basically the same time. So that can be really good for communications, really good for travel, and setting up new plans for the future. As we go into November, there is a mystical number, 1111. So November 11th, that's the month is 11, the day is 11, and in tarot that corresponds to the Four of Wands, which tends to be a very happy card and has a very mystical energy to it. And so on 1111, we have a little bit of a problem. It doesn't look so good because we're going to have Saturn squared to Mars. Now, that represents power struggles and frustrations, so you're going to have to be a little bit careful with that, especially with Saturn in the 12th house of self-undoing and limitations, and Mars is going to be up in the 9th house of understanding. So, you know, you really should be understanding of others. Don't let yourself get into power struggles, and don't allow frustration to mar the day, so to speak. Then we go into December. Now, in December, Neptune is going to be going direct. Here's Neptune. He's in your own sign. He is the ruling planet of your sign. So that means things should pick up for you. You should be able to express yourself very, very well. And on the 2nd of December, Neptune is going to be in a sextile to very beautiful blue line here, Venus. So Neptune and Venus in a sextile is a good thing. It means there could be a lot of romance, a lot of creativity, making life easier and expressing yourself easier, especially dealing with groups of people. Now that's at the beginning of the month, and take advantage of that because as we get to the 19th, you can see Venus is going to go retrograde here, and right after being with Pluto. Now Venus is love and values and romance and all these nice things, and Pluto is death and resurrection. So when Venus is with Pluto, you might have to make some changes in your approach to how you deal with other people. You know, there sometimes is not a good thing to be involved with someone at work or someone in the same group that you're dealing with. So be a little bit aware of that. You must know exactly what you value, because if what your value is not right for you, you may have to change what you value. So be a little bit careful, especially with sexuality and those kind of energies as well. Again, as I said, Jupiter has gone into Pisces for the first time in 12 years, and now he returns because he went retrograde back into Aquarius. Now he comes back into Pisces. This is very, very good. So you're going to have both Jupiter and Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, in Pisces, and Jupiter used to be the ruler of Pisces before we found Neptune. So all of this energy in your first house is really good for self-expression, really good for making yourself as the best person you can be. Now, it happens on the 30th of December, so be careful on the 31st because that's party time. And after the last year and all the stuff that has now cleared out by the end of this year, 2021, you may want to really party. But Jupiter can be overindulgent. Too much food, too much drink. So be careful. Yes, you can enjoy yourself, just do so sensibly. And with Jupiter and Neptune in your sign for the coming year, that should bring you many blessings. Hi, I'm Reverend Tom Kearns, and this is my story. If you are a spiritual seeker, it may help you on your journey. I believe your spiritual development is as important as your religion. If you look at Christianity, it focuses on the life of Jesus. But Jesus was never a Christian. He was Jewish. If this thought intrigues you, you'll enjoy my new book, Light from Water, Freeing Jesus. It's available on Amazon.com and through fine bookstores. And it may help you on your spiritual journey. I'd like to thank you for watching. I'd like to thank you for listening. Please subscribe because these videos are free, and press the little bell for notifications. And if you need a psychic reading for the new year, please go to my website, internetpsychicreadings.com. And I hope you have a fabulous 2021.